For fans of British action films, the late 70s could be seen as a bit of a purple period. There was lots of veteran actors in ensemble, international cast action movies around this time. The first one of which was 1978's The Wild Geese. Now, this isn't the first version I've owned, this is on the Arrow Blu-ray. First version I owned was actually free in the Daily Mail. It's a DVD, and you know what? It's not a bad transfer. It's nice and steady. It's alright. It's pretty serviceable. There's no there's no chapters in it though that you can search through, and there's no menu, but you know, as a starting point, this is really good. So many years later, I upgraded to this Arrow DVD of The Wild Geese. Now, anyone who doesn't know, Wild Geese, Richard Harris, Roger Moore, Richard Burton have to free as mercenaries an African leader. It's got a really class ensemble cast. Richard Burton playing gruff old gentleman leader. Roger Moore playing Roger Moore. Richard Harris playing Richard Harris. Hardy Kruger, Stuart Granger, Frank Finlay. So I'm just looking at the cast. Ronald Fraser, managed to sober him up for his scenes. Patrick Allen, the voice of The End of the World. Patrick Allen was an actor in a lot of these films, lots of British films. I think he was South African, and he did, for the Frankie Goes to Hollywood song, Two Tribes, the nuclear war voiceover. And that's because he was appointed by the British government in the early 80s to narrate a series of nuclear documentaries, nuclear safety documentaries called Protect and Survive. So the last thing you probably heard in the 80s before getting wiped out by Soviet nuclear attacks will be Patrick Allen's voice. They've since proven that Protect and Survive won't make any difference. I think it was just to preoccupy people. Anyway, my friend actually bought it on VHS once, bless him. So Patrick Allen, who else is in it? Let's have a look. Yeah, Ian Yule, John Carney, Ronald Fraser, I mentioned him. A really good ensemble cast. Kenneth Grahame as well. Kenneth Grahame's witty. So yeah, it's a bit of a romp. It's a 15. It's 15. There's one particular scene, and Roger Moore is particularly nasty, and a drug dealer, the drug kingpin's son, meets a rather untimely death. It's pretty much comic book stuff, is this, apart from one or two scenes that are hugely graphically violent, including that one. So it is a 15. The Arrow release is a rather nice release. So it's got, this is the reverse of the cover. The actual cover has got some new artwork on. So a lot of these have been released on Blu-ray, and I'll be getting around to reviewing a bit more of them. So this one's got the original cover. That's the new cover on the libretti inside. Picture Roger Moore with Not to be Sold Separately. So Roger Moore, Not to be Sold Separately. And this is a really nice book. It's got blow-ups of the main cast members. Look at that picture of Roger Moore smoking a cigar. Absolutely fantastic. He is good in this, his old Rog. A great action yarn, it really is. Richard Burton is really out of shape in this, and plays a really out of shape character in it. He was rather ill at the time. I think he had some crystals form around his liver. He drinks quite a lot in this. A nice performance from Burton, coming towards the end of his career and his life. A section about Ewan Lloyd, who produced all these, nicknamed the last of the gentleman producers. A few years later made the now semi-notorious Who Dares Wins with the late great Lewis Collins, the Birkenhead Bond. So a bit about Ewan Lloyd here. There is Richard Harris. Now, the codename Wild Geese. They made Wild Geese too, which I've never seen. I've no intentions of seeing it, to be honest. They bombed at the cinema. And Hardy Kruger there. But on the Blu-ray, the bonus features codename Wild Geese starring Lewis Collins. Probably nothing at all to do with this. It's probably more akin to a sequel to Who Dares Wins, if anything. But some nice features on it. There really are. There's a world premiere newsreel footage, and it shows the premiere. It shows them having a meal afterwards, and like the Duchess Hotel, then having a dance. So you got some of these older movie stars having a boogie, which is quite fun. So the trailer, it's got a Roger Moore audio commentary. So it's Roger Moore, Ewan Lloyd, and second unit director John Glenn. John Glenn was soon directing Bond films. So in 1981, he directed his first Bond film with For Your Eyes Only, having done second unit stuff. So the action's really tight, and it's very much in an action style of the 1980s Bond films. So it's a very well made film. It really is. I'm quite a fan of this. Glad I got it on Blu-ray. The book's really nice. The world premiere is kind of funny. Yeah, so that's 1978's The Wild Geese. As for the two versions, I've said this is pretty good. Let's compare the two, shall we? Let's compare the two.
On the command, right and left turn. A and B squads will turn to the right. C and D squads turn to the left. Squads, right and left. Ah! Right. Let's try for our first heart attack, shall we? On the command, double march. You will double in a clockwise and an anti-clockwise direction within the confines of the parade ground. 20 paces at the double, 20 paces at the sprint, then fall flat on your bellies. Get up and do it again until I tell you to halt. At the double. Double! March! Come on there, move it. Let's see something from you. Up.
The Blu-ray is obviously an upgrade, not available on 4K, sadly. And that's the problem with 4K. You buy these things, you buy the Blu-rays with the hope, will it ever come out on 4K? If it doesn't, these go out to print. They're not on endless production runs, so get them while you can. I've bought a bit of a glut of these recently. I've bought North Sea Hijack, also with Roger Moore, and Who Dares Wins, which I'll get around to reviewing, because they're damn good films. As I said, it was a rather purple period with British action films. Yes, they are old-fashioned. They have been accused of being right-wing, but they have kind of an old-fashioned... I disagree with that, because I think they have quite an old-fashioned patriotic mood to them. Yeah. Nothing wrong with this. This is Region B, so you get it imported. Be careful, this is a Region B. Soundtrack's fine, it's in stereo, it's only in surround, as a lot of these are. It's in stereo, 135 minutes. But nice transfer. Arrow do a good job. And quite happy to... these have been given a second chance on Blu-ray. So I've got this old freebie DVD from the Her Majesty's Daily Mail. That's Region 2 as well, so that's region locked. So it'd be interesting if any of our American viewers have watched this and what you think of it. But I think it's an action classic. Look, you don't get films with covers like, beautiful painted covers like that anymore, do you? It's just a real craftsmanship went into these films. Arnaldo Puzzi did the poster to this. Just look. What else did he do? That's a familiar name. He did the Get Carter and the Carry On films. So he did the famous Get Carter poster from the initial release. So if you're looking for a bit of escapist, boyzone, knockabout action fun, I recommend this film for any military film fans. One of my favourite scenes in it is when they go to Africa and Jack Watson's character, he plays a sergeant major, has to whip a lot of these veteran soldiers into shape. Now, Jack Watson was, I think he was a PTI in the Royal Navy, so I think he was a drill instructor, so he brought a lot of his military bearing to this. Let's look at Jack. I know he did military service. Yeah, he was a PTI in the Royal Navy, so he's excellent. He's particularly brutal as a British drill instructor. You could even say he's the British Gunnery Sergeant Hartman from Full Metal Jacket. He's really brutal. He's horrible. He's great. Jack Watson was always a pretty reliable character, and popped up in other of these types of films, such as North Sea Hijack, and was a familiar face on British cinema. So it is a shame, British cinema doesn't seem to make many action films anymore. So, get hold of this, 1978's The Wild Geese, starring Roger Moore, Richard Burton, and Richard Harris, and Hardy Kruger, don't forget. Classic cast, real good ensemble cast. I really enjoyed this film. I only watched it last week again. It's a regular watch this for me. I find it's very entertaining. Just an easy film, like an old pair of slippers, an easy film, like a Bond film. An easy film to put on and just watch and enjoy. And most of all, it's got enjoyable characters. Richard Burton, really enjoyable he's a drunk basically, but he's sober at work. So his first scene, he's slumped on an airport with a bottle of whiskey in his hand, and his first two scenes, he'll take any whiskey. Any offer of whiskey, he's necking it. He said, "I'm always sober when I work." And Richard Harris plays a father whose son's at boarding school. He's a bit saccharine in parts, and the little boy who plays his son's a terrible actor. He really is. But Roger Moore is really slick in this. Is he a bit like Bond, but he's got a real mean streak and a bit of a nasty streak in this. So I'm a huge Roger Moore fan. He can't do any wrong, even in what's considered his stinkers. He's always watchable, and I think Roger Moore is the star of this film. Don't forget, he is at peak Bond. Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker. This is sandwiched between those two classics. However silly you think these Bond films are, they were huge, and Roger Moore was a huge bankable star at the time, and in a lot of films around this time, a lot of non-Bond films around this time, which is great because I'm a huge Roger Moore fan. So, that's The Wild Geese, 1978. Recommended.